The C.I.S. Critical Security Controls for Effective Cyber Defense along with description and implementation groups. This is in audiobook format. Please like and subscribe for more content. Let's begin. The Center for Internet Security Critical Security Controls for Effective Cyber Defense is a publication of best practice guidelines for computer security. The project was initiated early in 2008 in response to extreme data losses experienced by organizations in the U.S. defense industrial base. The guidelines consist of 18, originally 20, key actions, called Critical Security Controls, CSC, that organizations should implement to block or mitigate known attacks. The controls are designed so that primarily automated means can be used to implement, enforce and monitor them. 2. The security controls give no-nonsense, actionable recommendations for cybersecurity, written in language that's easily understood by IT personnel. Goals of the Consensus Audit Guidelines include leveraging cyber offense to inform cyber defense, focusing on high payoff areas. Ensuring that security investments are focused to counter highest threats. Maximizing the use of automation to enforce security controls, thereby negating human errors. Using consensus process to collect best ideas. The 18 CIS controls are as follows. Inventory and control of enterprise assets. Inventory and control of software assets. Data protection. Secure configuration of enterprise assets and software. Account management. Access control management. Continuous vulnerability management. Audit log management. Email and web browser protections. Malware defenses. Data recovery. Network infrastructure management. Network monitoring and defense. Security awareness and skills training. Service provider management. Application software security. Incident response management. Penetration testing. Now the controls along with their description. Let's begin. CIS Control 1. Inventory and control of enterprise assets. Description. Actively manage, inventory, track, and correct all enterprise assets, end-user devices, including portable and mobile, network devices, non-computing/Internet of Things, IoT, devices, and servers, connected to the infrastructure physically, virtually, remotely, and those within cloud environments, to accurately know the totality of assets that need to be monitored and protected within the enterprise. This will also support identifying unauthorized and unmanaged assets to remove or remediate. CIS Control 2. Inventory and control of software assets. Description. Actively manage, inventory, track, and correct all software, operating systems and applications on the network so that only authorized software is installed and can execute, and that unauthorized and unmanaged software is found and prevented from installation or execution. CIS Control 3. Data protection. Description. Develop processes and technical controls to identify, classify, securely handle, retain, and dispose of data. CIS Control 4. Secure configuration of enterprise assets and software. Description. Establish and maintain the secure configuration of enterprise assets, end-user devices, including portable and mobile, network devices, non-computing/IoT devices, and servers, and software, operating systems and applications. CIS Control 5. Account management. Description. Use processes and tools to assign and manage authorization to credentials for user accounts, including administrator accounts, as well as service accounts, to enterprise assets and software. CIS Control 6. Access control management. Description. Use processes and tools to create, assign, manage, and revoke access credentials and privileges for user, administrator, and service accounts for enterprise assets and software. CIS Control 7. Continuous vulnerability management. Description. Develop a plan to continuously assess and track vulnerabilities on all enterprise assets within the enterprise's infrastructure, in order to remediate and minimize the window of opportunity for attackers. Monitor public and private industry sources for new threat and vulnerability information. CIS Control 8. Audit log management. Description. Collect, alert, review, and retain audit logs of events that could help detect, understand, or recover from an attack. CIS Control 9. Email and web browser protections. Description. Improve protections and detections of threats from email and web vectors, as these are opportunities for attackers to manipulate human behavior through direct engagement. CIS Control 10. Malware defenses. Description: prevent or control the installation, spread, and execution of malicious applications, code, or scripts on enterprise assets. CIS Control 11. Data recovery. Description: establish and maintain data recovery practices sufficient to restore and scope enterprise assets to a pre-incident and trusted state. CIS Control 12. Network infrastructure management. Description: establish, implement, and actively manage, track, report, correct, network devices, in order to prevent attackers from exploiting vulnerable network services and access points. CIS Control 13. Network monitoring and defense. Description: operate processes and tooling to establish and maintain comprehensive network monitoring and defense against security threats across the enterprise's network infrastructure and user base. CIS Control 14. Security awareness and skills training. Description: establish and maintain a security awareness program to influence behavior among the workforce to be security conscious and properly skilled to reduce cybersecurity risks to the enterprise. CIS Control 15. Service provider management. Description: develop a process to evaluate service providers who hold sensitive data, or are responsible for an enterprise's critical IT platforms or processes, to ensure these providers are protecting those platforms and data appropriately. CIS Control 16. Application software security. Description: manage the security life cycle of in-house developed, hosted, or acquired software to prevent, detect, and remediate security weaknesses before they can impact the enterprise. CIS Control 17. Incident response management. Description: establish a program to develop and maintain an incident response capability, e.g., policies, plans, procedures, define roles, training, and communications, to prepare, detect, and quickly respond to an attack. CIS Control 18. Penetration testing. Description: test the effectiveness and resiliency of enterprise assets through identifying and exploiting weaknesses in controls, people, processes, and technology, and simulating the objectives and actions of an attacker. IG. Implementation groups. There are 3 implementation groups, dividing the controls into 3 sections. Depending on which IG your enterprise falls under will depend on how many controls will need to be implemented. Implementation Group 1, applicable to all companies, small to large. Implementation Group 2, additional controls for storing sensitive information. Implementation Group 3, additional controls for very sensitive information. With the implementation groups, smaller companies do not need to comply with all CIS controls. This concludes the C.I.S. controls in audiobook format. Thank you for listening. Please like and subscribe for more content.